The fluorescent hum of Costco was usually a soothing balm to my weary soul. It was my sanctuary, a place where the sheer abundance of bulk goods, the promise of a good deal, and the comforting anonymity of the crowd could wash away the stresses of a long week. This Saturday, however, the hum felt more like a low, menacing growl. The air, usually thick with the scent of rotisserie chicken and industrial-sized cleaning supplies, seemed charged with an unnerving static. I'd navigated the labyrinthine aisles with practiced ease, my cart a meticulously curated testament to a week of planning and a touch of impulse. The usual suspects were in there: a colossal bag of cashews, enough laundry detergent to launder a small army, and a family-sized vat of olive oil that would likely see me through the next geological epoch. But the crown jewel of my haul, the item that had required strategic timing and a mild act of bravery, avoiding the early morning rush, was nestled securely at the bottom of my cart, a 12-pack of the premium, ultra-soft, triple-ply toilet paper. Ah, the simple luxury of knowing you're prepared. I was in the checkout line, the final frontier before the glorious escape into the sunlight with my bounty, when it happened. The line was long, snaking around displays of oversized televisions and mountains of discounted designer handbags. We were all in that peculiar Costco purgatory, a state of mild impatience mingled with the thrill of impending acquisition. A woman, a veritable force of nature, clad in a pristine white athleisure set and a sharp, almost predatory gleam in her eyes, was 2 carts ahead of me. She had a cart overflowing, a veritable cornucopia of Costco treasures, but her gaze wasn't on her own impending purchase. It was fixed with an intensity that made my fillings ache on my cart. Her name, I would soon discover, was Brenda, and Brenda, it turned out, had a very specific, and in her mind, righteous vision of Costco's purpose. She turned, her perfectly coiffed blonde hair barely moving, and pointed a manicured finger directly at my humble toilet paper. "Excuse me," she said, her voice cutting through the ambient noise with the precision of a laser. It wasn't a question. It was a pronouncement. I blinked, caught off guard. "Yes?" I managed, an innocent furrow forming between my brows. Her lips thinned into a displeasingly straight line. "That," she declared, gesturing again at the 12-pack, "is excessive." A ripple of murmurs went through the people around us. The usual Costco camaraderie, that unspoken understanding of shared bulk-buying enthusiasm, seemed to momentarily fracture. People shifted, their eyes darting between Brenda and me, a silent, curious audience forming. "Excessive?" I repeated, a touch of disbelief creeping into my voice. "It's a 12-pack. It's what they sell." Brenda let out a short, sharp laugh that sounded less like amusement and more like a suppressed bark. "Oh, I know what they sell," she said, her voice dripping with condescension. "But you," she emphasized the word, as if I were a particularly unpleasant specimen under a microscope, "are clearly hoarding." Hoarding. The word hung in the air, absurd and accusatory. I looked at my cart, a sensible collection of household staples, 12 rolls of toilet paper, while a satisfying quantity, hardly qualified as a doomsday prepper's cache. "Hoarding?" I asked, my voice rising slightly. "I'm just buying what I need for my family." "Your family?" Brenda scoffed, her eyes narrowing. "How many people are in your family? Are you planning on building a toilet paper fort? Because that's what this looks like. This is our toilet paper, the toilet paper for everyone else who comes here today and tomorrow and the day after." Her intensity was frankly unnerving. She was speaking as if she were some kind of Costco rationing tsarina, personally responsible for the equitable distribution of charmin. The absurdity of the situation was starting to dawn on me, but it was quickly being overshadowed by a prickle of indignation. "I'm not hoarding," I stated firmly, my hands tightening on the handle of my cart. "I'm a loyal Costco member, just like you. and I'm buying a reasonable amount of a product that is readily available." Brenda took a step closer, her athleisure suit radiating an aura of righteous indignation. She was taller than me, and the way she leaned in, her gaze unwavering, made me feel like a child being reprimanded. "Reasonable," she repeated, her voice now laced with a dangerous edge. "You know what's not reasonable? Taking more than your fair share when others might be struggling." She let the word struggling hang in the air, loaded with implied judgment. I was starting to feel a flush creep up my neck. This was not how I envisioned my Saturday morning. I wanted to be home, enjoying my cashews and contemplating the sheer convenience of my bulk purchases. Instead, I was being interrogated by a woman who seemed to have appointed herself the guardian of toilet paper equity. "I'm not taking more than my fair share," I insisted, trying to keep my voice level. "And frankly, I don't appreciate you accusing me of hoarding. It's a ridiculous accusation." Brenda's eyes widened, as if my refusal to buckle under her scrutiny was a personal affront. "Ridiculous? What's ridiculous is people like you, with your greed, stripping the shelves bare." She then did something that truly escalated the situation. She reached out, her hand hovering over the handle of my cart, as if she intended to physically intervene. "Hey!" I exclaimed, instinctively pulling my cart back. "I demand to see what else is in here," Brenda declared, her voice now a full-blown decree. "We need to make sure you're not hiding more. This is a public service." The murmurs around us intensified. A few people in the line behind Brenda were now openly staring. A Costco employee, a young man with a name tag that read Kevin, was slowly making his way towards us, his expression a mixture of confusion and alarm. "You can't just confiscate my cart," I sputtered, my heart beginning to pound. This was beyond bizarre. This was bordering on the surreal. "Oh, I can," Brenda said, her eyes glinting with an almost fanatical zeal. "Because I'm protecting the community from hoarders." She emphasized the word again, as if it were a universally understood evil. And then, with a sudden, decisive movement, Brenda lunged. Her hand shot out, not just towards my cart, but to grab the handle itself, as if to wrench it away from me. This was the moment the mundane task of grocery shopping dissolved into something far more dramatic, far more Costco-esque. The fluorescent lights seemed to flicker, the hum of the store amplified, and Brenda, the self-appointed toilet paper enforcer, was attempting to confiscate my cart. My cart, filled with the fruits of my strategic shopping, including a perfectly innocent 12-pack of toilet paper. The day had officially gone off the rails. The fluorescent hum of the Costco lights, usually a soothing balm to my weary soul, now felt more like a low, menacing growl. The air, which moments before had been thick with the comforting anonymity of bulk goods, now seemed charged with an unnerving static, all focused on my humble 12-pack of premium, ultra-soft, triple-ply toilet paper. Brenda, this veritable force of nature clad in a pristine white athleisure set, was still clinging to the handle of my cart, her perfectly coiffed blonde hair practically vibrating with righteous indignation. Her eyes, sharp and almost predatory, were fixed on my bounty, a look of utter disgust etched onto her features. "You cannot possibly need all of that," she declared, her voice cutting through the ambient noise with the precision of a laser. It was a pronouncement that hung in the air, heavy with accusation. I was caught off guard, my mind still reeling from her attempt to physically confiscate my cart. A 12-pack, for my household. Which, admittedly, was on the larger side, but not that large. I do," I stammered, my voice betraying a slight tremor. "It's for my family." Brenda let out a short, sharp laugh that sounded less like amusement and more like a suppressed bark. "Oh, a family. How convenient. And how many people are in this mythical family that requires a veritable mountain of Charmin Ultra Soft. She gestured towards my cart with a manicured finger, as if I were a particularly unpleasant specimen under a microscope. I felt a prickle of indignation rising. "That's none of your business," I stated firmly, tightening my grip on the other side of the cart handle. This was my Costco sanctuary, my glorious escape from the mundane, and she was turning it into a battleground over a simple luxury. "It becomes my business," she retorted, her lips thinning into a displeasingly straight line. "When your excessive hoarding deprives others. Do you know how many people are standing in line, just hoping to find one pack? One pack to get them through the week? And you, with your toilet paper fort," she spat the words out, her gaze sweeping over the 12 rolls nestled securely in my cart, "are just stripping the shelves bare." The absurdity of it all was starting to dawn on me. I was being interrogated by a stranger in a grocery store, accused of villainy for purchasing a quantity of toilet paper that was, in my opinion, entirely sensible. It was a satisfying quantity, yes, but hardly a doomsday prepper's cache. "I'm not hoarding," I said, my voice rising slightly. "This is a standard pack. They sell them like this." "Oh, they sell them like this," she mimicked, her tone dripping with condescension. "And you, my dear, are a perfectly willing participant in this rampant consumerism that benefits no one but yourself. You're like a rationing czarina, deciding who gets their fair share of the good stuff." A rationing czarina? Me. I just wanted to get my shopping done and go home. The thrill of impending acquisition, the specific satisfaction of a well-executed Costco run, was dissolving into a bizarre and accusatory skirmish. "I'm just a loyal Costco member doing my weekly shop," I countered, trying to keep my voice level, though a flush was starting to creep up my neck. "And this is a perfectly reasonable collection of household staples." "Reasonable?" Brenda scoffed, her eyes narrowing. "Reasonable would be one pack, maybe two, if you have a truly enormous family. But 12? That's not reasonable. That's greed. That's what happens when people like you think they're entitled to more than their fair share." The word greed landed like a punch. I felt a surge of defensiveness. I'd been coming to Costco for years, always mindful of not taking more than I needed, always appreciating the deals and the sheer abundance. This toilet paper was a simple luxury, a small comfort in a chaotic world, and to have it framed as some kind of universally understood evil was, well, it was genuinely upsetting. Just as I was about to articulate this growing sense of injustice, a new figure entered the periphery of our little drama. A Costco employee, a young man with a name tag that read Kevin, was approaching, his expression a mixture of confusion and alarm. He'd clearly been observing our unusual standoff for a few moments. Brenda, however, was far from finished. Her focus remained locked on me, her self-appointed role as the guardian of toilet paper equity apparently overriding any social niceties or the presence of authority. "You think you can just waltz in here and take whatever you want, don't you?" she continued, her voice escalating. "You think you're above the rules, above the needs of the community. But I'm here to tell you, that kind of behavior won't be tolerated." Kevin reached us, his hands clasped loosely in front of him. "Is everything all right here, ladies?" he asked, his voice calm but with an underlying tone of practiced de-escalation. Brenda immediately turned her formidable gaze on him, her athleisure suit radiating an aura of righteous indignation. "No, Kevin, everything is not all right," she announced, her voice loud enough to draw the attention of a few more shoppers who were now openly staring. "This woman," she pointed at me, her finger trembling slightly with the intensity of her conviction, "is hoarding toilet paper. She's got a 12-pack in her cart, and she's refusing to admit that it's excessive." Kevin's eyes flickered to my cart, then back to Brenda. He looked like a man who had seen many strange things in his time at Costco, but this was clearly pushing the boundaries of the usual eccentricities. He glanced at the 12-pack, then at my face, a silent question in his eyes. It's just toilet paper, I managed to say, my voice a little strained. I bought a standard pack. Brenda let out a frustrated huff. See? She's playing dumb. Kevin, you need to do something. You need to ensure that everyone gets their fair share. This is a public service. You can't let her get away with this. Kevin looked from Brenda to me, then back to Brenda again. He seemed to be weighing the situation, trying to determine if this was a genuine issue or just a particularly aggressive shopper having a meltdown. Ma'am, he said, addressing Brenda, his tone measured. We don't have a limit on toilet paper at the moment. Customers are generally allowed to purchase what they need. Brenda's jaw dropped. Her perfectly coiffed blonde hair seemed to bristle. No limit? Are you serious? That's irresponsible. You're enabling this behavior. She turned back to me, her eyes blazing. You think you've won, don't you? Just because this employee is too scared to stand up to you. But I won't be deterred. And then, the situation truly escalated. Brenda, with a sudden, decisive movement, lunged at my cart. Her grip tightened, and she tried to wrench it away from me. Her intention was clear: to physically intervene, to remove the offending toilet paper from my possession. Hey, I exclaimed, instinctively pulling back. The cart, laden with its other, less controversial goods, lurched precariously. I demand to see what else you're hiding, Brenda shrieked, her face contorted with a fanatical zeal. You're probably hoarding paper towels too. And canned goods. You're one of those people, aren't you? The ones who strip the shelves bare. Kevin stepped forward, his expression now one of genuine concern. Ma'am, please let go of the cart, he said, his voice firm. You can't do that. But Brenda was beyond reason. She was a woman possessed, a self-appointed toilet paper enforcer on a mission. Her grip tightened, and she strained to pull the cart towards her, her knuckles white. The 12-pack of toilet paper, my supposed crime, was now the focal point of a full-blown public spectacle. Other shoppers were openly staring, some with amusement, others with a mixture of confusion and alarm. The mundane task of grocery shopping had dissolved into something dramatic, something Costco-esque. The hum of the store seemed to amplify the tension, the fluorescent lights casting a harsh glow on Brenda's determined, slightly unhinged face. It was clear, in that moment, that this was no longer about toilet paper. It was about something far more absurd, far more surreal. And Kevin, the Costco employee, was now tasked with managing a crisis that had officially gone off the rails, all over a simple, innocent 12-pack. The air in the Costco aisle, usually a comforting balm to my weary soul, now felt charged with an unnerving static. Brenda, a veritable force of nature, clad in a pristine white athleisure set that radiated an aura of righteous indignation, had just lunged for my cart. Her perfectly coiffed blonde hair seemed to vibrate with her fury. My innocent 12-pack of premium, ultra-soft, triple-ply toilet paper, nestled securely at the bottom of my cart, had somehow transformed into the crown jewel in a battle for community resources. You can't just take that, I exclaimed, instinctively pulling my cart back, a futile gesture against the sheer momentum of her misguided crusade. My voice, usually measured and calm, cracked with bewilderment. Brenda, however, was not to be deterred. Her eyes, which had previously held a sharp, almost predatory gleam, now seemed to bore into me with the intensity of 1,000 suns. I demand to see your receipt and your pantry. You're probably hiding more, aren't you? Stripping the shelves bare like some kind of doomsday prepper. The absurdity of it all was starting to dawn on me, a slow, creeping realization that this was no longer just a misunderstanding. This was a full-blown descent into a peculiar Costco purgatory. Kevin, the young Costco employee who had been hovering nearby, his name tag proclaiming his identity with a mixture of confusion and alarm, finally found his voice. "Ma'am, there are no purchase limits on toilet paper," he stated, his voice a little higher than I'd expected, as if he were trying to navigate a minefield. He was clearly trying to remain neutral, a difficult task when one shopper was attempting to physically confiscate another's groceries. Brenda scoffed, a short, sharp sound that cut through the ambient noise with the precision of a laser. "Oh, Kevin, isn't it?" she purred, the condescension in her tone practically dripping. "Don't you worry your pretty little head about it. Some people just don't understand the concept of fairness. They see a deal, and their greed takes over. They don't think about their neighbors, their community. They just think about themselves." She gestured wildly at my cart, as if it contained a family-sized vat of plutonium, not toilet paper. My flush crept up my neck. "Excuse me? Greed? I'm buying 12 rolls. That's what my family uses in about 2 months. It's a sensible collection, not a doomsday prepper's cache." I tried to keep my voice level, a mild act of bravery in the face of such unhinged accusation. 2 months? Brenda shrieked, her voice now amplified by the cavernous acoustics of the store. A few shoppers in the vicinity, who had been engaged in their own quiet battles with bulk-sized quantities of snacks and cleaning supplies, began to cast curious glances our way. "That's still excessive. What if everyone bought 12 rolls at once? The shelves would be empty. You'd create a shortage." "But it's Costco," I stammered, feeling like I was explaining basic physics to a toddler. "They stock a lot. They expect people to buy in bulk." "That's the whole point. The point is to serve the community, not to enable selfish hoarding," she declared, her manicured finger jabbing the air in my direction. "And I, for one, will not stand by and watch while our precious resources are gobbled up by the toilet paper gluttons." Kevin, bless his heart, tried again. "Ma'am, our inventory is replenished regularly. We haven't had any issues with shortages recently. The customer is allowed to purchase what they need." Brenda turned on him, her eyes narrowing. "Are you calling me a liar, young man? Are you saying I'm imagining this toilet paper crisis that's clearly happening right under your nose?" She leaned in, her voice dropping to a menacing growl. "Or are you just too scared to tell this hoarder that she's being selfish?" I could feel the eyes of the surrounding shoppers, a mixture of amusement and genuine concern. Some were openly staring, their carts momentarily forgotten. Others were trying to pretend they weren't watching, their gazes fixed on the towering displays of discounted goods. It was a spectacle, a bizarre Costco-esque drama unfolding in aisle 7, right between the bulk olive oil and the industrial-sized bags of chips. "I'm not scared, ma'am," Kevin said, his voice gaining a touch of steel. "I'm just stating our store policy. And our policy is that customers can purchase up to the available stock, provided it's not a designated limit item." "Toilet paper is not a designated limit item." Brenda let out a short, sharp laugh that sounded less like amusement and more like a suppressed bark. "Oh, you think you're so clever, don't you? You think you can just hide behind store policy while the fabric of our society unravels one toilet paper roll at a time." She then turned her formidable gaze back to me, and I swear I saw a dangerous edge to her pronouncement. "This is a public service, you know. Someone has to stand up to this kind of greed. Someone has to ensure equitable distribution." "Equitable distribution?" I repeated, barely able to contain my disbelief. "It's toilet paper. I'm not hoarding it for a zombie apocalypse. I'm buying it for my family. It's a sensible quantity for a household." "Sensible to you!" she shot back, her voice rising again. "But what about Mrs. Henderson down the street? What about little Timmy who's got a runny nose? They might not be able to get any because of greedy people like you." I pinched the bridge of my nose. This was truly escalating. I was being interrogated by a stranger in a public place, accused of being a selfish hoarder because I dared to purchase a standard package of toilet paper. It was beyond bizarre, bordering on the surreal. "Look," I said, trying a different tack, a placating tone. "I'm happy to offer you some if you're in urgent need. I have a whole pack here. I can spare a few rolls." The words were out before I could fully process them, a desperate attempt to de-escalate the situation. Brenda recoiled as if I had offered her a vial of poison. "Offer me some? You think this is about me? This is about principle. This is about the greater good. You think you can just buy your way out of your selfishness by throwing a few rolls at me?" She scoffed. "No, thank you. I don't want your tainted toilet paper. I want you to put it back on the shelf so someone who actually needs it can have it." "But I need it," I insisted, my voice starting to fray. "My family needs it. We're not going to run out of toilet paper just because you've decided I'm a bad person for buying it." "Oh, we'll see about that," Brenda declared, her eyes widening with a renewed fanaticism I had only ever seen in documentaries about cult leaders. With a decisive movement, she lunged again, not at my cart this time, but directly at the 12-pack itself. Her hand shot out, aiming to wrench it from its comfortable position at the bottom of my cart. This was it. The moment the mundane task of grocery shopping had officially gone off the rails, my instincts, honed by years of navigating crowded aisles and avoiding rogue shopping carts, kicked in. I instinctively pulled my cart back, a sharp, jerky movement that sent a few stray items, a bag of artisanal popcorn, a family-sized vat of mayonnaise, rattling precariously. "Hey!" I yelled, my voice no longer measured or calm, but sharp with alarm. "Get your hands off my cart!" Brenda, however, was undeterred. Her fingers brushed against the plastic packaging of the toilet paper. She let out a triumphant little gasp. "Aha! I knew you had more." Kevin, seeing the situation rapidly devolving from awkward to potentially physical, finally took a more active role. He stepped between Brenda and my cart, his expression a mixture of concern and a desperate plea for de-escalation. "Ma'am, please, you need to step away. This is not acceptable behavior." Brenda glared at him, then at me, her breath coming in short, sharp pants. Her athleisure suit, once a symbol of serene wellness, now seemed to be crackling with an unholy energy. She was the self-appointed toilet paper enforcer, the guardian of Costco equity, and she was not about to let a simple 12-pack of toilet paper escape her righteous judgment. My carefully curated testament to sensible bulk purchasing had become the focal point of a public meltdown, and I had a horrifying feeling this was far from over. Kevin, bless his name tag and his practiced Costco smile, stepped between Brenda and my cart like a seasoned diplomat entering a volatile negotiation. His eyes, however, held a flicker of something that had nothing to do with policy manuals. Pure, unadulterated bewilderment. "Ma'am," Kevin began, his voice a low, steady rumble designed to cut through the rising hysteria. "There are no purchase limits on toilet paper at this time. We have ample stock." He gestured vaguely towards the distant mythical land of the stockroom, a place I'd only ever glimpsed in hushed whispers and the occasional tantalizing glimpse when a pallet of paper towels was being restocked. Brenda, however, was not interested in facts. Facts were for lesser beings, for those who hadn't achieved her level of enlightened consumerism. Her perfectly coiffed blonde hair seemed to vibrate with righteous fury. "Ample stock?" she scoffed, a sound that was less a laugh and more a derisive puff of air. "Are you blind, young man? Look at this cart. This is not ample. This is hoarding. This is an act of aggression against every other shopper in this establishment." Her manicured finger, tipped with a shocking pink polish that seemed entirely out of place with her current level of apoplexy, jabbed accusingly at my 12-pack of premium, ultra-soft, triple-ply. It was a sensible quantity, really, enough to get us through a good few weeks, certainly more than enough to avoid the indignity of a mid-week emergency run, but hardly the stuff of doomsday prepper legend. My family wasn't large, just 3 of us, but we were enthusiastic users of toilet paper. We appreciated its simple luxury. Plus, it was on sale, a truly glorious escape from the usual price point. "There's nothing aggressive about this," I stated, trying to keep my voice level, though a flush was already creeping up my neck. "It's a 12-pack. It's what I always buy when it's on sale." Brenda rounded on me, her eyes narrowing with an intensity that made my fillings ache. "Always buy? And what about everyone else's always buy? What about the single person who needs 1 pack? What about the family who only needs a 6-pack? You are selfishly taking more than your fair share, depriving others of a basic necessity." The absurdity of the situation was starting to feel like a physical weight pressing down on me. I was being interrogated, lectured, and accused of being a toilet paper villain, all over a 12-pack. Kevin, bless him again, tried to interject. "Ma'am, with all due respect, the store policy is clear. We don't restrict purchases unless there's a specific shortage." "Policy!" Brenda shrieked, her voice cutting through the ambient noise with the precision of a laser. "Your policy is enabling greed. Your policy is contributing to the downfall of civilized society. This isn't about shortages, it's about fairness. It's about ensuring everyone gets their equitable share." She was speaking as if she were some kind of Costco rationing czarina, a benevolent dictator of bulk goods. I couldn't help it. A short, sharp laugh escaped me, almost involuntarily. It was a laugh born of disbelief, of the sheer, unadulterated ridiculousness of it all. Brenda's head snapped towards me, her expression shifting from righteous indignation to something colder, more dangerous. "What do you find so amusing?" she hissed, her voice dripping with condescension. I'm amused by the idea that a 12-pack of toilet paper requires rationing," I said, my voice gaining a little more strength. "This is Costco, not a war zone. And frankly, I'm a loyal Costco member. I spend a lot of money here. I think I'm entitled to buy a 12-pack of toilet paper when it's on sale for my household." Brenda scoffed again, a sound that was becoming increasingly grating. "Loyal member, your loyalty is to your own insatiable appetite. You are a symptom of the problem, a particularly unpleasant specimen under a microscope, a testament to the unchecked consumerism that is slowly but surely destroying us all." She was getting louder, drawing more attention. Heads began to turn. The comforting anonymity of my usual Costco pilgrimage was dissolving like a cheap tissue in water. Other shoppers, their own carts laden with everything from industrial-sized vats of mayonnaise to enough frozen pizza to feed a small army, were starting to stare, a mixture of confusion and alarm on their faces. Kevin, sensing the situation was officially gone off the rails, took a step closer to Brenda. "Ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to step away from the customer's cart." Brenda ignored him, her focus entirely on me. Her athleisure suit, a pristine white that now seemed to radiate an aura of righteous indignation, was a stark contrast to the increasingly unhinged expression on her face. Her eyes, previously just sharp, now held a predatory gleam. "You think you can just waltz through here, stuffing your cart with essentials, leaving nothing for the rest of us? You think you're special?" She took a step forward, her body bristling with aggressive intent. I instinctively pulled my cart back slightly, a mild act of self-preservation. This was escalating beyond anything I'd ever experienced. This was no longer just an awkward encounter. This was bordering on the surreal, on the verge of something truly bizarre. "I don't think I'm special," I said, my voice firm, my refusal to buckle under her scrutiny apparently a personal affront. I just think I'm a shopper, buying what I need." "What you need?" Brenda's voice rose to a near shriek. "You don't need 12 rolls. That's greed, plain and simple. You are hoarding. You are a disgrace to the principles of fair distribution." And then, it happened. With a decisive movement, Brenda lunged. It wasn't a gentle nudge. It was a full-blown, almost fanatical grab for my cart. Her hand shot out, her fingers scrabbling for purchase on the plastic handle, her intent clearly to wrench it away from me, to physically confiscate my bounty. My breath hitched. My mind, which had been trying to process the absurdity, was suddenly jolted into pure survival mode. This mundane task of grocery shopping had dissolved into a dramatic, Costco-esque wrestling match over toilet paper. Kevin, caught off guard by the sudden physical aggression, yelped, "Ma'am, stop!" But Brenda was a veritable force of nature, fueled by an unshakable conviction that she was doing the world a service. Her grip tightened on my cart, her knuckles white against the pink polish. She strained, her perfectly coiffed hair coming slightly undone, her face contorted with effort and fury. "Give me that toilet paper," she demanded, her voice a guttural growl. "It belongs to the people." My 12-pack, nestled securely in its cardboard embrace, felt like the crown jewel of a besieged kingdom. I instinctively tightened my own grip on the handle, pulling back with all my might. The cart lurched, threatening to tip. The cans of diced tomatoes on the bottom shelf rattled precariously. "No!" I exclaimed, the word ripped from my throat. "This is my cart! These are my purchases! You can't just take them!" Kevin was now actively trying to pry Brenda's hands off the cart, his own face a mask of strained professionalism and alarm. "Ma'am, please! You're going to hurt yourself or someone else. Let go!" Brenda, however, was locked in her own personal battle for toilet paper equity. Her eyes darted from Kevin to me, a wild, almost manic gleam in them. "He's enabling her,"